All right, y'all. So we are less than a month away from the big one, y'all. Let's take a look at the WMMA fans main event. The Bullet Valentina Shevchenko taking on Manon the Beast Fior. As y'all know, Valentina Shevchenko earned her belt back last September in the rubber match against Alexa Grasso, shutting her out. And Manon Fior earned her shot last year against Erin Blanchfield, who she shut out. So we got the best fight in the best at 125. And this fight's going to show us who the real beast is, pound for pound. So let's take a look at the challenge of Manon Fior first. It's been a long time coming now for Manon. Finally got her title shot after a long wait. Been more than a month. Been more than 13 months now. Now we're less than a month away, right? After the victory against Erin, that put her at 7-0. So Manon, she's been on the longest win streak at flyweight right now. She's one of the biggest and strongest flyweights in the top 15. And in my opinion, is still getting better as a fighter. I know her main choice of fighting is, of course, her stand-up game, mainly her karate and kickboxing, but she's been working on her kickboxing and boxing, getting sharper and starting to sit down on her punches a little bit more in training. And in training, you always see her rolling and getting her ground game up. And that's the one thing I like about Manon is that even though she's known for her stand-up, she stays in the gym working. She stays in the gym working on her takedown defense and her grappling, her jiu-jitsu, all of that. She's not completely ignoring these things like some people think she is. She's not completely ignoring these things like some strikers do. So that's why I don't worry about her getting stuck on the ground or getting drowned by many of these grapplers because she uses her strength at the right times. She can't really be bullied in there. Even when Erin came running at her full force and tried to clinch up with her, she would just ragdoll her, right? So when you look at Manon's resume on her way up the ladder, we've seen her do a little bit of everything. I mean, mostly we've seen her stick it out with her stand-up game. She chose to play chess with a lot of the other strikers and never really put herself in danger, which is good to me. I think that's good because it shows that she's using her IQ. She's not just going in there risking it all, sticking her chin out there. She likes to go in there and fight her fight and win rounds to get up the ladder, right? And that's how you got to do. You got to evolve as a fighter. As the fights get tougher, you got to show different levels. And I don't have no problem with that. She's taken a few people down here and there, and she's shown her strength in the clinch. So we know that there are a few things that she could surprise the champion with. So overall, Manon, she's got a good chance in this, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But that's one of the reasons why I always had Manon kind of ranked higher out of all the fighters I picked in my threat list. I always thought that Manon, she knew how to dominate, but also whenever fights would get kind of thick, she could make adjustments. People wouldn't see these little adjustments. They always say that, oh, she's sticking to the same thing or doing the same thing, but you would see her start to change up her pacing, her footwork, even just how she was, controlling fighters in there. I could see her always doing little subtle changes to always win these fights, even whenever the strikers would get kind of tougher, right? So yeah, definitely always saw Manon getting up there to a title shot and possibly winning the belt. You just never know, right? But let's look at the champion, Valentina Shevchenko. Back at the top once again, back at the top with her belt. I know a lot of people thought that the Bullet era was over. A lot of people felt like the Bullet era was done and Grasso era was here, but that changed quick. That changed real quick. I mean, honestly, to me, I picked Valentina in all three fights. I picked Valentina in all three Grasso fights because I wasn't convinced that Valentina was like completely done. And I wasn't convinced that Grasso was completely dominant either. By the way, where are the Grasso era? Where the Grasso era people at right now? Because they were the ones that were saying Grasso is here and Valentina's done. Where they at? Anyways, anyways, I thought Valentina was still doing well enough in all three of the Grasso fights where you could say she's still in there. She's still in there. She was just up against somebody who was evolving. Grasso was evolving, caught her at the right time. And for real, Grasso had been studying her. I mean, the footage was out there. Grasso had been doing what I said these fighters need to do. You got to study the champion. So it was expected. It was expected from those performances. But on a side note, I also think this. I think that Valentina Shevchenko may have underestimated Alexa Grasso a little bit. I think she did. I think she never really voiced it, but it was kind of in her mannerisms. I think she kind of took Grasso lightly the first fight. And when that fight took place, she didn't expect Grasso to fight like she did. So it kind of took her out of her comfort zone. Because everybody knows, look, even as a champion, you work hard to get there. But eventually, when you're dominant for so long, you will kind of have a certain gear that you just shift in and you expect all other fighters to kind of bow down to you. But Grasso didn't do that. Grasso didn't do that. So it kind of took her out of her comfort zone. So with that, Valentina, instead of leveling up, I think she took it. I think she took it back more to basics in that third fight. So instead of seeing like a Bullet 2.0, she just really went old school Bullet. She just went old school bullet. That just meant not getting fancy, stuck completely to a game plan, stuck completely to a wrestling game plan, whether it was boring or not. And she just handled business, right? She just handled business. So even though Valentina, had some rough fights with her, she settled in and did what she had to do, right? So when I look at Valentina now, in my opinion, I really don't see like a fighter that's showing signs of getting old or damaged. She's actually kind of getting smarter. She's actually getting smarter in there, which, even then, eventually a fighter's time will come. It'll come once you've been around a long time. But for one, everyone on the rise, they'll be studying you at some point. They will be studying you and following you and getting stronger in areas which they think they can capitalize on. Especially, some big grapplers like Tyler, when she was on to come up, as she watched Valentina, they tried to expose that, right? And that's where I think a lot of these new flyweights that come in, they will have success, like a Manon. But it definitely won't be easy because, again, Valentina is still one of the best well-rounded fighters in WMMA today. That's why she's been here for so long. I think she's still one of the best defensively sound fighters on the ground and on the feet. And she's crazy strong, too. Valentina is crazy strong. I mean, 135, 125, you name it. Valentina's always proven that, hey, she's strong. And Grasso, she felt it, too, in all three fights. So, yeah, man, with that being said, this matchup, when you match these two up, Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot, it's not going to be an Irene Aldana, Kell Rosa type of fight, nothing like that. But it's still going to be an exciting fight if you are a fan of martial arts. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, you will be hyped up. You will be tense for this one because this is going to be a high tense chess match. It's going to be a lot of respect from both sides, technician versus technician, but it's a chess match that's going to keep you, like I said, on the edge and tense because when either fighter sets up something and lands it, it's going to sting. It's going to be one of them fights where everybody's just kind of quiet and Manon and Valentina are going to be trying to size each other up or just inch their way in. And then you might just hear a clap like that on the chin, head kick or a right hook or whatever, and somebody go rolling, right? That's kind of what I see in this fight. I think Val, she's still sharp in her element. I think she's still sharp in her element and her abilities are the same. And she's always going to run that mid-range and outside range. So if you give her that space and time to think, she will pick you apart. She can still control with the basic combo if you let her. But I think that Manon, I think it's her job to go in there and not show that respect that past opponents have. Valentina's last four opponents, they really pushed her and they kind of showed that blueprint. Her last four fights, she was pushed. Let me put it that way. Her last four fights, three were Grasso and, the one Tyler Santos. I think she was pushed on the ground and on the feet. And once you think about it, man, it's crazy how Santos had the back for so long of Valentina, but still couldn't get the rear naked choke. Whereas Grasso, she got it just like that, right? So it's out there, it's out there, So Manon, she just has to take elements from both of these fighters and make better. She's got the size, she's got the strength. So the question is, can she wear Valentina down on the cage? Can she control the ground to steal rounds? We'll see. Can she slip in and out on the feet and touch Valentina's chin? She's going to have to, right? She's going to have to earn that respect. A lot of things that Valentina, is capable of doing, but I think there's a lot of things that Manon is able to do as well against a Valentina because she's a solid athlete. She's a solid fighter. She can do a lot of good things as well. She might not be as proven or as sharp as Valentina, but hey, neither was Grasso, right? So the first thing she's going to have to do is not over-respect the champion. Don't let her lead. Don't let her get into that rhythm. Manon likes to prove her striking is better. And I think that's what she's going to need to do. That's what she's going to need to do to make Valentina kind of fight mad in there. And then all of a sudden, she's going to have to use those other elements and kind of surprise Valentina like that. Now, I won't go as far as to say she needs to prove that she's the most well-rounded or the complete fighter in this one, but Manon is going to have to do things to expose weaknesses in Valentina and do whatever it takes, make those adjustments. But if something is working in there and she's winning rounds and it's frustrating Valentina, she has to stick to it. Just like how Grasso stuck to her boxing, it was working in that first fight until eventually she surprised Valentina. That's what Manon has to do. Don't just go in there and try to prove I'm the better grappler. I can submit you at this point of the fight. No, I can't play that game. It just has to be a fight where she kind of exposes Valentina and takes her out of her rhythm. And for Valentina, she just got to be old school Valentina. No fancy tricks against these new school of flyweights, right? So yeah, man. I think it's going to be a good fight. You know, I know a lot of people are already picking Valentina, but I think I think it can go either way right now. I mean, I'm not giving my pick yet. I will do a full on keys to victory. I just kind of wanted to size these two up like I usually do and do the first look because, yeah, we're less than a month away now. But who do y'all got in the comment section if y'all want to put as early as possible? But yeah, I think it's going to be a competitive fight because I think that Manon is durable. She's just going to have to be defensively sound herself. You know, no pullbacks, keep them hands up because Valentina, she be spinning them windmill kicks, and we know head kick. We got to watch out for the head kick. That's all I got to say for Manon. But other than that, Valentina, she can't underestimate this challenger either because Valentina, um, the blueprint is out there. For Manon, she's hungry. She's been waiting for a while, and she thinks that Valentina's kind of been putting it off. So yeah, she's ready to go. Just watching her train, she's ready to go. Now, also real quick, as far as cardio, I think both fighters are going to be ready. I think Manon is going to be ready. She's been running, cycling all the way from March up to now. I think that her gas tank won't be an issue. Just hopefully they stay close to weight in the next few weeks, right? So yeah, guys, that's my first look at the Bullet versus the Beast. What do y'all think in the comment section? Make sure y'all hit the like button and subscribe. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.